Arsenal are on the verge of winning the Premier League, but the player who was supposed to be at the centre of it all, his name isn't even coming up. No player of the year talks, just a narrative that he's regressed this season. Goals and assists are down, and on the surface, that case is easy to make. But is that really the full story? In this video, we'll take a closer look at Bukayo Saka's season. To understand this season, you have to go back to last season first. See, Saka started the season on fire. There wasn't a game where he wasn't putting it on the plate for his teammates. The game felt like it slowed down for him, like he knew the answers to whatever the defence threw at him. He was putting up the best numbers of his career, and not only did it look like he smashed any individual record he set for himself, he was on track to break the big chances created record for a Premier League player since Opta began tracking the data. Only 2 players have ever recorded 30 big chances created in a single season. The list of players with 20 or more is very small. Saka created 20 big chances in just over 14 games. He was on track to absolutely obliterate it. But a major hamstring injury in December, one that required surgery, completely halted his momentum. He came back towards the end of the season, and although he was playing to a high level, there was still a bit of rustiness, which made sense. He'd only been back on the pitch a few months after going under the knife. Fast forward to this season, Saka's assist numbers are the lowest they've been in 7 years. So how is that the case? Has he fallen off, or is there something the stats aren't showing? Saka's ability to put balls into the danger zone will never leave him. Watching him this season, it doesn't seem like he's lost that creative quality he's had since he first broke through. Look here, as the ball comes his way, he takes a big step with his right foot, getting his body over the ball. He knows exactly where this needs to go, right between the centre backs. And with the pass, he's ordering his striker to get in position and finish the move. Here's another example, similar move on the break. Saka has the ball and there's only one teammate he can aim for, with 4 opposition defenders between him and his target. Notice his technique on the cross again. Foot placement is always excellent. It allows him to get clean, consistent direction on the pass, and watch how he gets his chest over the ball, keeping it hard and low. The ball is fizzed right on the money, his teammate has a golden chance to score. Saka should have a lot more assists this season in the league, whether his teammates not converting high quality chances, or moments where he wasn't even given the assist because the ball took the slightest deflection. He has 3 assists in the league so far, but I don't think those numbers do him justice. He's been creating at a really high rate. Despite having an interrupted season with knocks, he's still amongst the highest in almost all underlying metrics for creativity and chance creation. A lot of his chances have also fallen to fullbacks who found themselves in dangerous areas, more offensive-minded players in those positions, and no doubt a good number of those become assists. To me, his chance creation and final ball has pretty much remained the same as the last few seasons. You watch him and he's regularly putting his teammates into goal-scoring opportunities. The underlying numbers back that up too. Perhaps the change in his targets have played a role too, going from players who attack crosses well, to a striker with a clear preference for passes in behind and who doesn't really attack high crosses, and fullbacks in goal-scoring positions who lack that killer instinct in front of goal. That's contributed to the lack of assists, in my opinion. But his chance creation isn't the only thing that's being questioned. Has Saka's mobility and dribbling regressed? Look, there's been a drop in consistency with Saka's dribbling this season that's there for everyone to see. But for a good portion of the season, his dribbling, especially going down the line, has been the best I've seen in his Arsenal shirt. Here's an example. Saka receives the ball. Watch how he has a defender backpedaling without even committing to a move yet. I really like how he starts whilst dribbling, getting the defender to bite. And this is where he's improved from the past. We usually see him cut back and try to split that gap through the defenders. Instead, he goes down the line. Look how low he gets his shoulders and uses his arms to beat the defender to the spot. Now, Saka has never been the most explosive dribbler. That's not his game. He's very methodical about it, attacks the front foot of the defender, destabilising them with feints, and then he makes his move. But what stood out more this season is his ability to go both ways, and that's made him a lot harder to deal with. You see his typical one-on-one play on full display here. Notice how he stood upright, with the ball close to him at all times. For a split second, he deliberately exposes the ball to the defender, and the moment the opponent sticks his leg out, that's when Saka's gone. In the same play, another defender is in front of him. You see Saka in the same upright posture, not giving anything away on where he will go. The defender shows him down the line, but look at the ball control and balance here. He squeezes through a really small window and creates a massive goal scoring opportunity. Look how he freezes the defender, and with the ability to go either way, it's very difficult to deal with. And the numbers back it up. He's 3rd in the entire Premier League for dribbling volume this season. Per 90, he's 5th in the league. That's not a player who stopped taking players on. But the inconsistency in Saka's dribbling has been there. cold patches that weren't really a feature of his game in previous seasons. Some of that comes down to the position he's playing. He's constantly being doubled and tripled with barely any movement around him. That drains you over a full season. Even more so coming back from a major hamstring surgery. One thing worth noticing, he doesn't seem to use his body as much this season. Before, he was regularly looking for contact, wanting to roll defenders with his physicality. But this season, it feels like he's more focused on facing them up and then going past them. Whether that's the injury still playing on his mind or not is hard to say. What we do know, when those dribbles do come off, he's third in the Premier League for carries that ended in a shot. Overall, I think his dribbling has slightly had higher highs than before, and there have been some lows this season too. That fluctuation and inconsistency is why I think people are asking questions. But to me, his dribbling isn't the reason why he hasn't been scoring or assisting a lot this season. I think we need to take a closer look at his shooting and his finishing. The main shot Saka goes for is a cut in from the right and aim from the far corner. It's a shot he's had in his locker since he first broke through at Arsenal, but this season he's had real difficulty finding the back of their net in these scenarios. Watch here, Saka has the ball with the defender in front of him, deliberately showing him down the line. Notice how he takes these small touches, getting the defender off balance. There's another defender in front of him, but watch how Saka has zero intention of taking either of them on. Instead, he attacks the spaces they can't get to. And now he's created a great opening with a clear sight on goal. But he completely messes up his shot. He doesn't get that whip on the ball, and his supporting leg just gives away. The shot has nothing on it and it goes well wide. And what makes this so confusing is that when Saka crosses the ball at full speed, his technique is fantastic. The balance on the supporting leg is excellent. The power and precision he generates on his deliveries is one of the best in the league. So why does that completely abandon him when he's taking a shot on goal? That supporting leg in particular has left a good number of goals on the table this season. He's shown he can score in this way as well. But that space he gets for Arsenal isn't the same as he gets for England. The time and space in international games, he just doesn't see that in the Premier League consistently, and has to do these moves with more intensity and sharpness. Which raises an interesting question. Is the hamstring still playing on his mind? I say that because there's a clear hesitancy on approach when he's in on goal. Watch here. Jesus slips in Saka and he takes a great first touch to set himself up. But then he just hesitates. Instead of elongating his stride and driving through the ball, he takes these small, cautious steps on approach with short backswing and there's no real force behind the attempt. These are the moments where you wonder, has he really gotten over the hamstring tear? See, a grade 3 hamstring tear and surgery doesn't just affect you physically, even when you're cleared to play. Your body puts a protective ceiling on how hard it will allow that muscle to fire. And he's not doing it consciously, but you can see it. He doesn't want to exert full force through the ball. And until that mental barrier is gone, those chances are going to keep slipping by. Saka has looked to adapt, and one thing that's been noticeable this season, there's a lot more emphasis on shooting low onto the near post. See here, Saka receives the ball, the defender showing him down the line. Notice his posture, he's upright again as always, not giving anything away. He gets closer to goal, and the moment he sees the opening, he aims low near post. Keep an eye on the keeper. Saka shoots while he still stood upright, which makes it so much harder to get down to as a keeper. And he just narrowly shoots wide. But the read on the keeper and the intention is really good. This is the move at his best. Saka receives the ball and takes a brilliant first touch, immediately setting himself up for the shot. There's a defender right on him putting pressure on, but watch the keeper. Although he's anticipating the shot and he's trying to get himself set, that's exactly where Saka gets him. The moment the keeper stood upright, Saka pulls the trigger, and that timing is perfect. The power and precision on that finish makes it completely impossible to get to. And see, that's not luck. You can tell Saka's been attempting to read the keeper's body and using it against them. It's been a feature of his game a lot more this season. And what makes this even harder to deal with in these moments, if the keeper anticipates that low driven shot and drops early, Saka will lift it high instead. And look, this is a clever adjustment, but at the end of the day, it's still a difficult shot to rely on as your primary goal threat. And when you look at his shot map over the last 4 seasons, you start to understand why the goals have dried up. Have a look at Saka's shot map over the last 4 seasons. In the 23-24 season, which was his best season, the shot clusters are quite tight and central and you can see how close they are to goal. He took 102 shots and 10 of them were goals. Notice how the hex bins are dark and concentrated right where you want them as a winger. And now look at this season, the clusters are a lot more scattered and further out and wide. The median distance is almost 14 yards, and that's the furthest it's been over the last 4 seasons. You can see the shift in the system and how he's been used. And what happens when a player gets the ball further from goal and wider than he's used to? That's when they start to force things. And this season, Saka has been attempting shots from positions where he really shouldn't be. Difficult angles and way too far out. These low probability attempts aren't really on. Whether that's frustration or just trying to manufacture something that the system isn't naturally giving him. It's a bit hard to say, but it's been a feature of his game this season that really hasn't been there before. His mechanics have always been a bit unconventional, and that's nothing new. But this season, there are clear moments where his mind and body just aren't on the same page, and it's stopping him from scoring goals. Combined with playing wider and further away from goal than any season before, that's why he hasn't really taken a leap goal scoring wise, in my opinion. So, has Saka stagnated this season? I know some will look back on this and say yes, and the GA numbers make that case easy to make. But I've watched him closely this season, and some of his performances without a goal or an assist to show for it have been amongst the best he's been playing in an Arsenal shirt. The underlying numbers back that up too. His creativity, ball carrying, chance creation, it's all been around the same level as previous seasons, bar the beginning of last season where he was on a genuinely historic trajectory. And maybe that's the real issue. We saw where Saka was heading last season, on track to break records, improving year on year without fail, and this is the first season where the improvement has stalled. We're just not used to it with him. But I do think there's a lot of context that's needed. This season, Saka has been deployed really wide, pinned to the touchline, and a lot further away from goal with barely any movement around him. Now, if there's one thing that does concern me, it's his shooting mechanic. The lack of commitment striking through the ball and his support leg constantly giving up on him is something that keeps on happening. To me, I think this is a lot more mental than physical. The hamstring surgeries, his wider positioning, the defensive demands, and the system not being as offensively fluid all played its part. But Saka's the kind of player who figures things out. In my opinion, he'll be back to his best, I have no doubts about that. Let me know your thoughts on Saka's season in the comments. Do you think he'll be back, or do you think this is just his level now? Drop below who you want me to analyse next. And until next time, peace.